salmon farming has been analogized to farming tigers. We don't farm tigers, we farm cows and pigs. Salmon are very high energy animals, and the unfortunate reality of salmon farming is that it's requiring 4 pounds of wild fish to produce each pound of farm salmon in the form of fish meal and small fish that are going into the production of the species. And so, while this has been a huge commercial success, the ecological footprint of this is really in question. Most recently, the aquaculture industry began to take on tilapia. And salmon and tilapia now are the ubiquitous species in every supermarket in America. They're really the base of the food chain. Tilapia has a big advantage. It's an herbivore. It eats low in the food chain. It's predominantly eating grain, and that's a good thing. Bad news is, it really doesn't have a lot of flavor. It really doesn't confer any health benefits. One of the compelling reasons we all want to be eating more seafood is to get omega-3s into our diet. So in that brief history of aquaculture, a number of issues have emerged around the sustainability, the healthfulness of the product. And that's where we went on a search, looking around the world in a really a fundamental way to say, is there something else? Is there a new model where we can combine a great species, perhaps with some different biological attributes, with improved farming methods, and come up with an innovative solution? And we found our ways to northern Australia. The company was founded in Australia, and this unique and at that point unheard of fish, the barramundi. And the interesting thing about this fish is that it has exactly the opposite life history of the salmon. As we all know, salmon go into the rivers to spawn. They have this dramatic journey. They spawn, and then the babies go out to sea to mature. The barramundi has the opposite life cycle. It spawns in the ocean, and then the babies often go into freshwater. And the reason that's important is that nature has endowed this, and the evolutionary pressures over time have given the species the ability to eat low in the food chain, to make use of grains which are inexpensive, clean and abundant, and also, because its reproductive requirements, to manufacture these omega-3s that we all want to be eating more of. And that's why this fish has been called the perfect fish for changing world. It has this unique biological ability to give us what we need. The problem was nobody really knew how to farm it. It was a cottage industry when we arrived, and it was a series of challenges that we had to confront. How were we going to reproduce it in large scale? Turns out they're enormously cannibalistic. If we put 10,000 barramundi in a pond or a tank, we could count on harvesting about 200. They would absolutely devour each other, so we needed a way to grade the fish and sort them very intensively. We needed to understand what to feed them and refine the diets to maximize the sustainability benefits and get the omega profile, so you get the health profile and the flavor that you experience today. And ultimately, we had to build consumer awareness. We began 5 years ago learning how to reproduce this fish. We acquired the world's largest indoor aquaculture facility in Massachusetts, a facility that I built for striped bass, and we began to convert it and to expand it for barramundi. And in this facility, we recirculated, reused about 60 million gallons of water a day. And one of the things that we do is that we grade the fish very frequently, as much as every 4 days in the first stage, and then less frequently as they grow. This is a grading process where fish are actually being pumped out of a tank. They're going to go through a sorting device, and the bigger ones are going to be separated from the smaller ones to manage this problem of cannibalism, which turns out to be very manageable. This is our final grow-out stage in Turner's Falls, and this is really kind of platinum standard in terms of addressing all of the sustainability and health issues. And this gave us our footing in the U.S. market, and we began to introduce the fish by partnering with some of the premier chefs. Rick Moonen, who's a seafood champion and runs Bravo and runs a restaurant called RM in Las Vegas. Michelle Deshawn of Heartbeat, people that really care about health and sustainability, joined us. Anita Lowe, top chef, master, great, really talented person, embraced our story, took it to the trades, and we began to get a lot of great menu placements around the country, including the French Laundry. As we started to understand more about this fish, we created a brand that we called The Better Fish, and we called it The Better Fish to communicate really 3 attributes. The first is the aquaculture industry is really missing a key type of fish, which is what's that replacement for grouper, snapper, cod? What's the replacement for a mid-oiled, mild white fish? Tilapia, bottom end of the spectrum, salmon, a different type of flavor profile. So this is a fish that really just about everybody finds appealing. It really fits the broad profile. And the oil content makes it easy to work with, easy to cook, avoids overcooking. We talk about better for you, the fact that we're farming it without hormones, colorants, or antibiotics. We test all of the fish to assure that they're free of mercury and other potential contaminants. And what we found is that as we began to work with the diet, when we started, we had about 180 milligrams of omega-3 per serving, similar to other white fish. But as we refined the diet, we were able to increase the omega-3 by about 5-fold. And we did that largely by feeding the animal vegetable oils, not by relying on fish oil. And so when we look at the fish in, fish out ratio, how much wild fish is going into each pound that you eat on your plate, we are well under 1-to-1 compared to salmon at about 4-to-1. So we're about 8 times smaller environmental footprint than a salmon, and yet with a comparable oil content to a coho, for example. Not as much as an Atlantic, which has a uniquely high oil content. And then thirdly, we have great sustainability credentials, and we're the only species that's green listed by all 3 of the major wallet card promoters, the Monterey Bay Aquarium, Blue Ocean Institute, and Environmental Defense. So this has really helped us to tell our story and to begin to speak about aquaculture in a way that's really unique and different, and hopefully capture and get consumers on the side of aquaculture, because this is an essential part of what we think the future of sustainable food production looks like. As our story started to spread, we had a kind of a problem of success, and we began to not have enough product for major retailers from our U.S. operation. So we began to look around the world. Boston Globe dubbed it the next big fish. We began to look around the world, and we found that there was cottage industries in various places throughout its native range. In Southeast Asia, it's known as Asian sea bass, or a variety of local names. But each of the places we looked, we found that really whatever was being produced was generally being consumed locally, and the quality standards might not have been there to meet our expectations for an export market and a premium product. So after a number of years of looking throughout this range, we found our way to Vietnam. And Vietnam is home to some 3 million people that if you ask them what they do, they would say fish farmer. So it's a place where there's a whole tradition of growing fish. They had a shrimp industry that was built like some of the other places very quickly, went bust. There were shrimp ponds that people were looking for things to do with. It was trained people. And we found our way to a beautiful part of central Vietnam, around Nha Trang, which is a tourist city, and this is where our headquarters is located, Vietnam. And there's a beautiful bay about 40 minutes north of Nha Trang called Van Phuong Bay. It's actually where Jacques Cousteau reportedly fell in love with the ocean when he was in the French Navy. And we had the good fortune to secure a significant concession from the Vietnamese government, about 500 acres of water inside of this bay. And in the tropics, one has to be concerned about typhoons, severe weather, but by tucking ourselves inside the bay, we're well protected.